Hi everybody, my name is Kylie Beatler and today I'll be doing a critique of one of my own pieces from this class. So this is from the sculpture-based photography module and this is the house I made. Um, it is very much made out of paper, cardstock, and painted with acrylic, cheap acrylic, Walmart acrylic. Um, and it's clear that throughout all of the pictures, the main aspect of the art is the piece is the house. It's made up of neutral, relatively warm tones, um, and I would say it kind of rides the line between realistic and abstract, simply because it's clearly a house, right? But it's clearly um, not extremely realistic. There's an attempt for texture there in the paint, but it still feels pretty flat. So definitely in between the two, kind of stylized, but a version of the home of a home clearly or a building. Um, so I mentioned this briefly, um, but the paint kind of helps add kind of a weathered feel to this piece, as well as kind of the disheveled nature of the roof here and the fact that the edges aren't quite square, um, and also kind of the roughness of the edges here. So it feels kind of, I don't know that rustic is the right word, but certainly not clean cut. Um, And I think that the cuts and the way that paint was used and some of it, not attempted to be hidden, just kind of adds to that effect. Um, I would say the mood kind of varies from photo to photo. I think there's some humor, um, but also some underlying meaning here, particularly in this piece, this one, and perhaps even this one too, these photos. Um, by way of interpretation, um, I kind of have a foot in since I made this, but quite frankly, I don't really have, um, I didn't have much meaning in mind when I was taking the photos. It was just kind of to get cool photos. This is one that did have a little bit of meaning. I'm sure all of you know how hard it is to get a home right now. It's just life is really expensive right now, including getting a home. And so this is kind of reflects like my idea of, oh, having an ideal home, right? Like green grass, like a pool would be cool, whatever, right? Like kind of the dream. And this kind of reflects more of the reality. It's 3D, it's something that's clearly there. This is flat, this is a dream. Um, so that's some meaning I feel there. Um, Perhaps the meaning here is it's communicating a feeling of loss. These are beautiful flowers, but their red tone kind of makes it feel a little bit more potent. Like there's something more there. If they were yellow, I think it would feel happier, but the fact that they're kind of orange and red with just the highlights of yellow kind of makes it either feel closer to love or maybe even pain, right? Like something um, is happening there. This feels like a fairy house, which I just love. So maybe finding, like some whimsy and some beauty in the typical. Um, and so on. Um, um, Based on that, I think that this is relatively successful. Um, I I do believe that without knowing what I did about this, kind of my intention with making it, I don't think it necessarily communicates kind of that despair. I think some other elements could have assisted in that. I do, however, feel like this piece in particular, this photo, really communicates well for itself. Um, and I think some of these images are meant to just be interesting. This is definitely one I just thought was interesting. It was in, the sandbox I grew up in, and there were some, plastic army guys out there. This one's a cowboy. It just felt like a picture that had to happen, but there's not any meaning there for me. But I think that this is a photo that people could gain meaning, interpret meaning from. Um, so anyway, that's kind of a brief analysis. Hope you enjoyed it. I did.